Hi, I'm Betsy from Betsy's Plumbing, and in this segment we're going to talk about cutting pipes, cutting PVC and copper. That's what I'll be covering. Now, there are many different types of cutters for pipe, so I'll run through the copper ones and then I'll run through the PVC and show you some of the techniques and things to look out for, some pros and cons and some issues you might run into. So, when you're cutting pipe, copper, PVC, copper, PVC, you can use some of the same tools, but it's best to just go ahead and invest in the right ones. So copper, you have this type, which you tighten as you go around. I'll just go ahead and do a cut for you. This one you tighten down on the copper pipe. You need to make sure that it's sitting in the groove here. See the two wheels? That it's sitting in the groove as you tighten it. You can always adjust it, but once you tighten it down onto the pipe, you want to make sure that it stays in the same place so you get one continuous cut that's nice and clean. So what you do is you tighten it down and then you rotate it around the pipe. On the next turn, you tighten it a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more. And you do that until you get all the way through the pipe. Well, that was not a very, actually it wasn't bad. My pipe cutter is a little bit old, this blue one, and it's probably time to replace the wheel in here. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. Once those get dull, they can do damage to your pipe that then you can't undo. These aren't that expensive, so you just want to get a new one when you need it. A new wheel or a whole new cutter. Now, once you've made your cut, you want to make sure that you deburr the inside. And you can do it with this little piece that's on the side of this one. You can get a tool like this and do that. The importance of deburring, getting the sharp bits out, is that if you don't get it out, it causes the water to react in a way when it hits the tube to be more turbulent, and it can actually cause pinholes in your pipe, something you definitely don't want to have happen. So use cutters that work well with copper. This one's great in tight spaces. They come in different sizes. This one's the 22 mil for the fatter copper pipe, right? But if you're in a tight space, which often you are when you're plumbing, this one you just turn around and around. You follow the arrow and you keep rotating it until it cuts the pipe for you. These are fantastic, as I said, in tight spaces. This is another one that is great in small spaces, but not quite as compact as the round one. But this is another option because it's quite small and it works like this one. You put the pipe in, and after each turn, you tighten it just a little bit more until you get your clean cut. Okay? Now, if you're doing PVC, you can use these. You can, but the problem is, what happens is there are several layers of plastic you cannot see very well when you just look at the pipe. But once you cut it with another method versus the proper PVC ratcheting tool, if you use something else, then you might get some tears and some uneven edges, and you don't want that with the plastic either. And I'll talk about why you want the best clean cuts for these pieces, but I'm trying to see if one of these has an uneven. No, they're great. Okay, so anyway, this is just like super easy, this ratcheting one, because instead of turning that copper cutter around and around and around, all you're doing is tightening, and you get a beautiful cut every time. Now, I used to, for whatever reason, when I was starting out, I didn't invest in one of these, which was really stupid, because I was cutting it with the copper cutter, which, as I said, works, but is not perfect and not ideal. So anyway, invest in just a ratchet one. I think this one was 11 pounds. If you're not going to be doing a ton of plumbing, this will be perfectly adequate. Okay? Now, the reason we want to have nice clean ends, well, there's several reasons. One thing I will say to you first is when you're using copper pipe, you don't want to reuse pipe. You might be tempted because you already have the fit on there and the olive, you know, is in place and already secure. But what can happen is you might, unbeknownst to you, there might already be a pinhole that's starting in this older pipe, or it might be slightly bent and not have, actually this one is slightly not very good. And when I was starting out, I used to use copper pipe a lot for curtain rods. And then when I was done with those curtain rods and I had painted them black, then I would use them. And this is one that I actually did use. Not a good idea. Please don't do that. Do what I say, not as I do, because you want to know that you've got the best combination going and that you've got a good fit. The pipe is in good shape. It's new. It's not stressed yet. And that's the best way to go forward. Now, one of the best reasons, well, we said about the deburring of the copper pipe is to make sure that you eliminate the burrs so that you don't get the turbulence in the pipe. But you also want to make sure when you're doing your cuts, and this is why you want to make sure you've got a nice sharp cut going, nice clean sharp cut, is that it doesn't get bent in any way. It's not stressed in any way, and the nut and the olive can easily slide on when it's time to use it. And same with the PVC pipe. You want to make sure that it can go into its connectors without a problem. And, you know, if you don't have a good cut or it's uneven, then you're going to have problems with your seal. Okay? So I showed you cutters, cutter, and I also showed you deburring tools. Now this is, deburring. We use this and we use this on our copper pipe. If you think you've got a couple of pieces of metal stuck down in there that you've released when deburring, use this little brush. That'll help loosen them and get them on out, coming out the other end. I think that's it. If you have questions, book a 30-minute consultation with me and I can help answer any questions you have about whether you want to use copper or PVC and what tools to buy. Thanks and bye for now.